Alright, so here's what you're going to do when you just want to set a basic mastering with some plugins that might come with your system. I'm going to be using right here the Waves Linear Phase Multiband. It's a multiband compressor, so you might have one of those in your system. Then I'm going to follow it at the end with the L2 Ultra Maximizer, which is just a limiter. So the limiter needs to go on at the very end, and the multiband compressor needs to go on before that. What I'll basically do is I set release times starting here. As you can see, they start kind of fast on the very high end, and they get a little slower as you go down to the bass frequencies. And same with the attack times, a little quicker for the high end and a little slower as you go on. You might even have a preset to start with. This one's just called basic meaning basic multiband, so it sets things up roughly flat for you to start setting your thresholds. You can also move where your crossover points are, but I'm going to keep mine with the ultra low end around 93 and below, then the low mid between 93 and around 550, the mid range between 550 and 4,000, the high range between 4,000 and 1K, or pardon me, 10K, and then everything above that in the ultra high range. And the idea is to compress each of these sections individually so none of them get out of hand, and then you can boost the overall level. It'll make your masters louder, but it also lets you control certain frequencies. And once I've set an even threshold on all of these, you can then actually control the level of each section. So if you need to make some pretty heavy mastering changes in the timbre of your song, you can right here with the compressor without ever touching an EQ. So the first thing I do is find a loud spot in the song, and that's where I'm going to set the thresholds for each of the bands. And you'll see when I play it, you'll see audio start coming on each of these meters, and these meters represent just each frequency from the super low to the ultra high. And I'll set the threshold here with my compressor so that it just hits the top wherever the peaks are. And then I'll explain more after I've done that.
Speaking this over your family. You can start over again. Speaking this over your money. You can do more. Speaking this over your body.
So if you watch what I'm doing as I play it, you'll see I'm adjusting the threshold level with this little arrow to be at the top of the frequency, basically the loudest spots of that frequency.
Speaking this over your family. You can start over again. Speaking this over your money. You can do more. Speaking this over your body. It's not over. It's not over. I'm singing this over your wayward sons and daughters. I'm singing this over your future right now. No, it's not over. It's not over.
Okay, once I've set it to where the threshold hits the peak, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower all of these evenly with my master threshold here. See how they all go down? And I'm going to lower it to where it digs in about maybe 1/3 into the overall level. So I'm going to be sending pretty much 1/3 of my music through this multiband compressor so it starts smashing it down. So you watch, you'll see how the arrows lower and only about 1/3 of the volume comes above the threshold. Some people will dig way down to where it's, half of it or more, but I don't like to smash my music that much. Okay, once I've done that, then I'm going to listen with and without the bypass so I can hear how much I'm compressing the music. Okay, so after I've heard what I'm going to do now is I'm going to boost the overall levels of each of the bands to compensate for how much I've turned them down, so that when I flip the bypass on and off, I don't hear a difference in level, I only hear a difference in compression.
Speaking this over your family. You can start over again. Speaking this over your money. You can do more. Speaking this over.
Yeah, it usually works around 4 dB. That's about how much I'm compressing is 4 dB. So if I turn everything up 4 dB, I can hear pretty much an even level when I bypass the compressor or when I leave it in. This is where you might make radical adjustments to the tone. Like what I'll do now is I'll play it, then I'll go in and I'll turn certain frequencies down so you can hear the change in the mix.
this over your money. You can do more. Speaking this over your body. It's not over. It's not over. I'm singing this over your wayward sons and daughters.
And you're not getting a true sound of what's happening with the mix because you're hearing it through the microphone on the computer. So this really isn't for you to get a chance to, this video isn't for you to get a chance to hear what I'm doing as much as see the basic idea of how I use the multiband compressor and the limiter. I don't really want to change the mix of the song. I've mixed it the way, or it's mixed the way we want it to sound. So I'm going to leave all my gains set evenly. So now basically I've set the multiband compressor for this song. Now I'm going to go in and use the limiter to boost the overall max to where I basically don't get much. The ceiling of the song pretty much stays up close to 0, but I also don't want to see a lot of smashing over here and how much limiting I'm doing. I don't want to hit more than 3 or 4 dB, or maybe the occasional 6 dB peak. What you're seeing here, this is the output ceiling is going to be the final level of the song, and the threshold, as I bring it down, you'll hear it get louder because what I'm doing is using the limiter now to start bringing the volume up of the overall mix.
Speaking this over your family. You can start over again. Speaking this over your money. You can do more. Speaking this over your body. It's not over.
You listen when I bypass it, you'll hear how much louder it is now.
Speaking this over your family. You can start over again. Speaking this over your money.
Some people will really dig the threshold down and try to almost redline this, but again, I don't like that either because I'd rather have my mix a little quieter than just smashed to death.
Speaking this over your family. You can start over again. Speaking this over your money. You can do more. Speaking this over your body. It's not over. It's not over. I'm singing this over your wayward sons and daughters.
Yeah, I got quite a bit of volume out of it. So basically, that's how you do it. Got any questions? Let me know. Thanks.